Welcome students. In this lecture, we shall discuss about the mathematical basis of mode locking. For this, we consider a laser formed by a pair of mirrors separated by a distance d as you see in figure 1. Now, in figure 2, what we see? We see a gain curve in which the oscillating modes are there oscillating about some central frequency, and this line represents the threshold as we have seen earlier. We can easily see that delta nu is the bandwidth over which gain exceeds losses in the cavity. So this is something where we would operate the laser between these limits of frequency. This is called the gain profile. Now we have also seen that the intermodal spacing can be easily written as C over 2 n naught d, and we have seen that this can be easily represented like velocity over the total distance. This for one round trip. That means I can write 2d, and this is the intermodal spacing we can see. Here we see that V is equals to C by N naught for the active medium. So this represents the intermodal spacing, and the laser oscillates in a large number of frequencies. Thus the number of oscillating modes can be written as the integer closest to but less than this thing, because it depends that how many slices of this delta nu bandwidth we can obtain. This actually gives the number of uh, such peaks in the time domain. When we divide by this number, it is a very natural outcome that the number of frequencies, the number of oscillating modes are obtained. Now further, we consider an example of a ruby laser in which delta nu is the oscillating bandwidth. Let us assume 6 into 10 raised to power 10 hertz practically taken. C is the cavity length of 50 centimeters. And so how many modes we are going to obtain? We just divide the bandwidth by the occurrence, the number, and we obtain 200 such modes. This large number of oscillating modes oscillate independently of each other. This is the thing. Their large number of modes oscillate independently of each other. So the relative phases are randomly distributed over a range of minus pi to plus pi over uh, over a whole uh, angular period. Now we have to find the output intensity and the total electric field, and we are studying this discussion on the basis of the book Ghatak and Tyagarajan, or Tyagarajan and Ghatak. So let us move further. The electric field of the laser output is given by the superposition of various modes which are taking part in giving the output intensity. So very simply we can see that uh, the amplitude of electric field can be written as overall summation from n equal to minus n by 2 to n by plus n by 2, and this is the mode, this is the amplitude of individual wavelet, and this is the frequency in time domain, and argument, and this is the initial phase of that wavelet, particular wavelet of that particular mode. We see that omega n is equals to 2 pi nu n. So we see an is the amplitude of the nth mode, phi n is the phase, and the frequency is given by nu n is equals to nu 0 plus n delta nu. Now why we have taken from minus n by 2 to n by 2? Because here we consider one central frequency, and from that central frequency, say this many number of modes are there. So out of those, half we take this side and half we take the another side. So this is our here uh, here the concept for deriving this. Once we know the amplitude and squaring that amplitude, we get the intensity. So from central frequency 1, 2, 3 and n by 2, and similarly from this side. So such frequencies oriented about the central frequency and not are given by n into delta nu, because delta nu we are considering the least count here. So n times we travel, n is are the, you may say that n are the steps, and this is the length of the step. Naturally we get n is equals to minus n by 2 minus n by 2 plus 1. Here it should be like this. Then minus n by 2 plus 2 and so on. You may correct it. And as far as intermodal spacing is considered, what we have seen, delta nu is equals to c over 2 L naught into d. Different modes having different frequencies oscillate with different amplitudes an with different phases phi n. So the total intensity, as I told, it will be some constant and square of the magnitude of amplitude. Since nu n is equals to nu naught plus n delta nu, we may substitute it here. You see, and nu naught is going to be 1. Why? Using the simple mathematics. E raised to, because that must be a constant, iota iota 2 pi nu 0. Now this must be equal to 1, because here nu naught is constant and 2 pi is for the whole period. So cos of this thing is going to be 1 using the de Moivre's theorem and simple trigonometry. We can easily show this. K is the constant of proportionality. Now this equation can be easily simplified very easily. How? Let us see. I have tried to solve it, and we may write I is equals to some constant summation over n square plus summation when n is not equal to m, summation m am star, that means complex conjugate e is to iota 2 pi n minus m delta nu t plus phi n minus phi m. This is our equation number 5. Now the justification I can write here. When n equal to m, we are actually doing summation from over n and m also, once for this and then for this. When both are equal, we have n magnitude square and rest these cancel out, because plus iota and minus iota and things will be same the other way. And so of course there must be k here. Now on the other side, when n equal to n is not equal to m, what happens? Nm equal to minus n by 2 to n by 2 here. An m star e raised to iota 2 pi n minus m delta nu t plus phi n minus phi m. Now we further find this equation, and an analysis and interpretation of this equation may be seen Phases phi n are randomly distributed over a range of minus pi to plus pi for various modes. For n large, delta phi n is negligibly small. So the output intensity is k summation over n square magnitude, and then there will be a cross term, of course. So this implies incoherent sum of the intensities of various modes because of this cross term. Sometimes they add up, sometimes it depends on the difference of the phase. Sometimes, so of course fluctuations may be there. The output intensity fluctuates with time due to the second term. This term causes fluctuations and chirping. T when equal to T plus Q by delta nu, intensity I repeats itself. That we see in the gain curve also. So there is a periodic variation, and the output intensity fluctuation repeats itself after every time interval. 1 over delta nu is equals to 2 n naught d by c. Round trip transit time in the resonator. This quantity is called. So the intensity fluctuations repeat themselves after definite time interval. Within periodic repetition in intensity, the intensity fluctuates, and the time interval of such intensity fluctuation can be is synonymous with the formation of beats in sound waves. So there is a waxing and waning. One frequency is more than and one frequency is less than this quantity. So the inverse of the oscillating bandwidth of laser modes gives the time interval of intensity fluctuations. This is caused by beating between two extreme modes. Below the threshold, various modes are largely uncorrelated due to the absence of correlation among the various spontaneously emitted sources. And near the threshold, the fluctuations become much less. However, the different modes remain essentially uncorrelated. Thus, the output intensity fluctuates with time. So that is the reason here at this point, uh, near the threshold, we see a sharp peak here. Now, how the phases are locked? That is an important question. In case when the modes are locked in phase, we have phi n are constant here, and at some arbitrary instant of time, say t is equals to 0, they all are in phase, and the intensity can be written as some constant summation n equal to minus n by 2 to n by 2 plus an e raised to 2 pi iota nu and t. So this is the same equation barring the fact that phi n have been put equal to 0. If all the modes have the same amplitude, that is an equal to a naught, we can drag them out and and uh, and indulge in this I naught. and summation from n equal to minus n by 2 to n by 2 e raised to 2 pi iota nu n t whole square. I naught is some constant into a naught square as we see here. Now, one important fact here, that solving this equation has to be solved, and the same logic here. On either side of the central frequency we have steps. So one example is also taken here, so that now we put the value of nu n, I equal to I naught, small n equal to minus n by 2 to n by 2, 2 pi iota bracket nu naught plus n delta nu t whole square, and again this becomes 0, and what we obtain, 2 pi iota, of course iota is equals to under root of minus 1, and now simplifying this, so already this is equal to 1, and when we keep the value of n here, n equal to, here see, n is equal to n plus 1 by 2. This we see here. So n I naught, I is equal to I naught, some peak amplitude, e raised to pi iota n capital delta nu t. So here we keep n equal to n by 2, then minus n by 2, then minus n by 2 plus 1, and so on. So I is equals to exponential minus of pi iota n delta nu t squared, and rest these terms form a geometrical progression as we see here. This is taken out, you see here, and inside a geometrical progression is formed, where the mean ratio is e raised to iota 2 pi delta nu t for n plus 1 terms, and the sum is given by r raised to n minus 1 over r minus 1, where we see when we raise to n plus 1 by 2, and n plus 1 terms are there. Then we see the sum is equal to some peak amplitude, and then we drag it out the half of this power in the numerator as well as denominator. So what remains inside? Half of this power. Then the other negative half. So arranging them we easily, and dividing and multiplying by 2 iota, I see that sine of n plus 1 into pi delta nu t over sine of pi delta nu t is whole squared, and this gives the locking in mode. So it represents a variation of intensity in time similar to that by a diffraction grating in terms of angle. The principal maxima are caused due to constructive interference and interference in the temporal domain among modes of various frequencies. The output intensity, now you see the cavity round trip time Tr is the inverse of the bandwidth of each wavelet, each peak, each pulse rather. So 2d by V, 2d by C by N naught. So it is the cavity round trip time. A mode locked pulse is synonymous with the condition that the light is bouncing back and forth inside the cavity. Every time it hits the mirror, a certain fraction is transmitted as output of the output pulse. And from this equation, as in diffraction, we see the condition for zero intensity is that we put this equal to 0, but this must not be 0. So this condition is achieved only when n plus 1 is not equal to 0. Rather, n plus 1 is 0, but this factor is not 0. That is, t is not 0 and delta nu is not 0. So equating it to 2 pi, and because pi is going to give pi is going to give both the factors equal to 0. So the condition of 0, larger the oscillation bandwidth, smaller is the pulse width. Delta t is equal to twice over n plus 1 delta nu. It is approximately equal to 2 by delta nu. So it is the pulse duration that we justify from here also. And the peak intensity, the central intensity can be obtained by taking the, so these are the zeros actually, and for peak intensity we see we have to take the limits as in diffraction theory. So we multiply and divide by n pi n plus 1 delta nu t squared and rearrange it, and taking the limit as sine theta by theta, when theta tends to 0 it is going to be 1. So this becomes 1, this becomes 1, and what remains is I naught bracket n plus 1 squared. We see here that delta nu into TD is constant. It means that using mode locking or a mode locking pulse, one can obtain pulses of duration as short as few hundred femtoseconds. So, like this technique, short pulses find wide applications in various scientific investigations and industrial applications. When modes are not locked in time, the peak intensity is n plus 1 into time. That means unlocked peak, as we see here. For typical solid state lasers, we have from 1000 to 10,000 modes of oscillation. So the peak intensity of mode locked pulse is very large, like this, because it gives the squared value, whereas for unlocked pulse it is only linear. So when the pulses are not locked, we have n plus 1 times, and when the pulses are locked, n plus 1 squared times. So this is all for today, and we shall meet in the next lecture. By a discussion is remaining for mode locking, that what is the technique for mode locking, and by active mode locking and passive mode locking, in a similar way as we studied Q switching. So using Kerr mode locking and using such material, and what is the technique behind that, we shall shortly see. Till then, bye, and thanks for watching.